have to answer it all. It's just to give you some ideas, but I put in the wish you read. And this is one I've thought of my whole career. I love this book. And of course, you know, I love these authors, but so many, maybe in my generation, I should say, librarians felt it was their job to, be the keeper of the books, not the giver of the books. If you had too many overdue, you didn't get to take another one, or you only could take one at a time, some of those types of things. And I know it's a management depending on your community and your library and your collection. But that's the one that I chose, that I wish everyone would read that and think about it. But I love that they used the word abdicate. Because we're not the king and the queen of the library. The kids would always say your library. I'm like, but wait, it's not my library. They just hired me to take care of it for you. So jump right in there, guys, or I'll keep talking. And there aren't that many of us. Just unmute.
Loved this one as well. There was a lot in it. And I wrote it on my thing that I feel like it's preaching to the choir because this is what we do. But there are a lot of people in my building that I would love to have read this book just because they don't realize or use our library the way my ELA teachers do. So. But the book was great.
And if you don't, I would recommend you follow them on social media. Both of them have good information all the time. Mm-hmm. Donalyn Miller and Colby Sharp.
Suzanne, I'm glad you noted that about the new copies when one starts to look ratty. I mean, that goes along with the weeding too. I mean, it's hard to weed because, we paid money for those books. And so I do that presentation. So that's one of the things I'm glad that they talked about.
And of course, our public librarians would chime right in there about the summer slide and summer reading.
Oh, neat. And Suzanne also pointed out the little free library in front of the school. And that would be a great way to get rid of your discarded books. Because I was, I was just talking to somebody, I don't know who, the school librarian in Kimball. And she's actually doing a PD plan for herself because she's a para, as you know, life happens. And she is doing a PD plan for herself, and she wanted to kind of get some ideas. And we were talking about, she asked about weeding and what to do. And I said, can you give them away? And so I love this idea of a little free library in front of the school for during the summer. So that's kind of cool.
And the interest inventories, Charla, I have found really all grades love to do those. I had I should probably find that somewhere. I had one I used quite a bit with 8th graders. And it was paper and pencil, but you could certainly make it electronic.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
I'd love a copy of that, Joan.
And then I lost my train of thought because it was paper and pencil. They told me a lot about themselves, even more than their, I like to read this type of book. So I always did it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always, and this was talked about in the book too, but if they don't know what kind of book they like to read, which is a pretty common answer if you ask them.
Yeah.
So I always lead with, what do you watch on Netflix? Or, what games do you play? Or what do you do after school? Just some of those things and direct them that way.
Your music, what do you like on YouTube? Yep, those types of things are great.
Well, and it can be such a great segue into one of my favorite stories was I think it was on a webinar, and it was a librarian out of Colorado, and he talked about how he hooked kids from comic book reading to graphic novel reading to book reading, and the parent did the whole, what have you done to my child? And he's like, wait, what? And this is a kid who didn't read, and now he's reading these, I think it was like Star Wars or Star Trek or those kinds of books, just prolifically. And it was just, the parent was so excited, and I just, that to me is such a, like, any way we can connect them is so awesome. So I
It's
love that.
because it's all reading, right?
It is. Yeah, this was a fun book.
I'm waiting for a new one to come out. I just drew on it by mistake. I am so sorry. Did that show up on your copy?
It did.
I went to swipe on the iPad. Sorry, I'll fix that.
We can't take you anywhere.
I know, darn, there.
I'm curious who has the book on display in their library and mention when they're talking to admin. I mean, I think that's really cool. To have this book and display it, because that's a nice way, especially if you're working with teachers and admin, to emphasize what we're doing. All right, I'm gonna kick us off to the next book,
Which is,
Grit.
I really can't pick a favorite. We have 13 of them on here, and they're all fabulous. So for this one, I just wish everybody read this, not just educators, I think.
Did Janie, did Rapid read Grit, or did you guys read Mindsets? And I know you're muted. I'm sorry.
Mine-
Oh, Shelley, you
think
could answer
we
that
read
too.
Mindset, not Grit.
Mindset.
Okay.
I may or may not have not read it. I'm just kidding. It was Mindset.
Well, and this quote that I wish people had read it's about this. I mean, we're all biased in some way. We all have a bias. But one of the things that really did occur to me is that a lot of people think that because you've worked really hard for something and achieved it, it's not as good as if you had the natural talent and it came easy. I'm thinking, to me, it was like astounding. It's like, what? I would have thought people would have thought the other way around. That it was more impressive, I guess, is for lack of another word. If you've worked so hard for something and you set your mind on it and you've achieved it, but it's not. I mean, it's not part of, according to their studies. So, but there was just a lot of things I could relate to in this one.
I've read parts of this one, and I really like this one too, just because
I have a dumb question.
What? No dumb questions. What?
Sorry, then I just cut out. My internet says it's unstable.
But just keep going.
How did you
It'll
make
usually
that
fix
sticky note
itself. Oh,
get large to read the whole thing? Like just a user tool or user question.
On
Did
this?
you just zoom in?
So
Yeah.
So with these crazy things,
Yeah. How did you do that?
This is by changing the size of your sticky note.
Sticky note.
But because Joan wrote it long, they used to just max you out, but now you can double click on it and you get the rest of it. And so it's kind of an interesting.
That's what I was looking for. Thank
interesting model that they've done. And then I have also just zoomed it up on my screen just so that we can see it a little bit better. So lots of different zooming going on.
yeah. And when it was first new, you would have had to do 2 sticky notes, but this one this version let me keep typing.
Let you keep going. Well, as Jamboard has changed so much, you guys, on a total non-book related topic. Jamboard now lets you upload a picture for the background, and so you can like if I did this time, I would put our book discussion frames in as a background image, rather than right now I have it on here just as an image. And so if you guys were naughty kids, no, naughty students, you could have deleted the image or moved the image around, but you guys are really good eggs, and we just don't have time to do that kind of crazy. So, um, but now you can make it be the background, which is super awesome.
And I think this is one of the good things of so many people going virtual is that some of these apps are really stepping it up.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right, hacking. Oh my goodness, who did this?
Connie added some charts for us, it looks like.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at that.
And just like the Hacking School Libraries book, this book is full of just practical things. And again, it's not one you necessarily, well, actually, none of them have to read front to back. You know, skim through the chapters, look for something that you currently need or are interested in, but all kinds of really good just tips and tricks, and not necessarily all about how to make a good question. It's how to engage the kids, really.
Steph,
so-
did you have anything you wanted to comment on yours?
So this was a book that I chose, and I chose it because I loved Hacking Libraries so much. I love just the format of just reading it, and it's just so full of information and truly transferable the next day. So I added some screenshots on there. I really liked it was hack number 4, just filling your back pocket with questions. I've just really been looking for things just to help students think more. I don't think that I think about the questions that I ask them so much. I don't really think through. Sometimes I think I get in front of the class and go with it. So this has really kind of helped me, help them. They really just needing to think about how they think, that metacognitive, piece that I think that sometimes I just forget about. So this author has a website that she has a bunch of free downloads too. So I think I put the link under that picture there.
Yes, and
that
I
has,
apologize, Steph. This is
just.
I said Connie put it up. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's because I'd read
No,
Connie
no
there.
worries.
My fault. Yeah,
This
it's
is
just fantastic stuff in here.
this is
Yeah.
really, really cool with the resources and everything, and the questioning, especially now where we're not, we're not always all face to face, or we're doing things a little bit different, being able to give the kids those sentence stems and kind of those good questions, because I'm horrible at questions. So yay.
But also lots of good ideas on techniques. Like if a question is worth asking, that I think was my quote, don't you want all the kids to answer it? Which is what, Pear Deck started long ago. And now we have Plickers. And in some ways I use, I used to be a Pear Deck fanatic, but I got away from it because I had Plickers and, sorry, old
I know.
brain here just went right out.
I have no idea what Padlet.
Nah, well, Padlet would do it too, same thing. So that all the kids are engaged in what you're doing. Oh no, I couldn't even think of it when I typed it. I said others, but Padlet would work, and it'll come back to me some year.
Joan, you use Wakelet a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And I like this one too. It does a nice job of going through the book and summarizing it for us. So thanks for sharing that, Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. Sorry. Anything else you'd like to add?
I guess just one of the things I was thinking when before I read it, I wasn't sure if my school was going to be back in person or if we were going to be virtual. So I approached reading the book, this summer as that I would be virtual. And so there's a bunch of protocols in the back of just different things you can do with the students, and just tried to think of different ways to do them all virtually. And truly you could in these Zoom rooms with the breakout rooms and, just having grouping students that we can't really group them if they have to be 6 feet apart, but you can truly do that in a Zoom room. So it was just kind of fun to try to think of it in 2 different ways, 2 different settings. So it's a great book. I hope,
Cool.
wish everyone could read it.
And I'll have to look and see. I don't remember if I could add it into Thai Reads or not. I tried to add everybody's book, and not everybody's book was addable at the time. But I
Right.
will double check and see, because that is a nice thing to be able to pop in and look at somebody else's book if you want to. All right, so we have one more, right?
Google Slides. Google Slides is another one, or I made charts where they could all put their stuff in. I mean, it's not as pretty as Pear Deck, but it works.
And this is the one that I wanted to read, and I almost didn't send out to people, but I did. And I don't
Oh,
think it's
it doesn't show
available.
up in front of my picture. Oh, there we go.
What'd you do?
It keeps going away because I have that background on.
Uh,
Not only does it give fantastic information and great bibliographies at the end of each chapter is kind of a theme. So, you know, you could go through and see what theme or what ideas you're currently working on, but the two authors have very different backgrounds, and their introduction was very enlightening. I have used other stuff by Lester, Lamanek, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, when about teaching reading. And he has some other great material out there besides this. This is the newest one.
so Jenny, you read this book.
Yes, Jenny.
I did, yeah. I thought it was, I mean, I think obviously as librarians, there's just so many things that we just kind of know that I think a lot of people don't. It's kind of like that same, I wish, you know, we're preaching to the choir, but I thought it was really interesting. Like the books are mirrors, so that self-affirmation, windows, they like you can stand safely in your own identity while exploring the world beyond. And then also as a door, and then being moved into action. I think I've been thinking, I've been thinking a lot about like matching kids with books and helping them find things, or finding that connection to get them out of Diary of a Wimpy Kid to getting them into something, you know what I mean? Like just that transition. And not that they're bad, they're totally fine, but once they've read every book 17 times, they probably need another series. And so like just trying to find things, I just think there's so many things going on in our world and so many books that I think it's really, I have these two girls in a class that I had today, and I have no idea how they read so much. It's so crazy and it's amazing. And I'm like, I can't get books in their hands fast enough. And these are two girls who come from very stable homes, and they come from they're very well nurtured. Their families are very involved. I know that they don't go home and sit on a device because they're reading, but they just are totally engulfed by these other situations that they're able to like see that window. And then I don't know that it's made them move yet, but I think it really has helped them to view the world bigger than what they are. I don't know. And I think about my daughter being in first grade, and I'm like, oh man, is she going to be like that in 3 years? Like, I hope I can give her that opportunity too. And obviously you want to give that to every student, but just knowing some of the things that those girls are reading are tough things, like Out of My Mind has interesting concepts. It has, somebody who can't communicate, or like, what does that look like? And I think it's just a really cool way for you to be able to connect with kids and have those conversations. So if they're only comfortable with being in a mirror, like then you find what works for them. And then eventually when you need to find them a door, you find them a door. So I don't know, that's my long rambling, but I really enjoyed this book. It's kind of one that I have made tabs and will come back to, just connections to history, or connections, like there's a kindness campaign that one group does, just hitting on that empathy and emotional piece. And I think that's so important in our culture right now, just because we have so many things going on and so many points of view and so many I'm rights and you're wrongs, that it just builds that empathy. I think that's important. And finding your identity and what that all looks like.
Lots of resources for not only more books on the topic, but projects, and a lot of examples from real kids in real classrooms in this one too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they had the conversation and discussion prompts that you mentioned those, and then, kind of that your next steps. I think that's exciting. That I like that. Do they need a mirror, window, or door? I don't know if any of you guys watched the Laura Ingalls Wilder special a couple at the end of December. It was really good. They brought in a whole bunch of different authors, and it was really fun because they have, you know, authors, and I don't ask me who they were. But one talked about how they, you know, they read Laura Ingalls Wilder, but they didn't see themselves in it. And you know, that's something that we talk about. So I was glad they brought that up in the discussion. I mean, and she just talked about how important it was to see yourself in the literature. And so it's just, it was really neat, just because, you know, like Laura Ingalls Wilder was a big part of my life growing up, because those were all the books that we read, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so it was kind of cool to see how that is being transitioned today. So
Well,
yeah.
and that the family's one big secret, you know, well, it's been out for a while now, but when I was a kid, really, I was a kid a long time ago, there was no mention about her daughter and, you know, about the collaboration that they now know went on and things like that. So it's interesting.
But yeah, so I think, is that our last book, or do we have another?
I think that is.
I think that's our last book, you guys. Oh my gosh.
And then there are more there on the Jamboard, because those are the first ones we did.
Right. We have all the books are here. So and I know somebody posted on Facebook today, they wanted in the growth mindset coach, I talked about using the M&M activity. And so I will see if I can kind of get a little bit of synopsis on that and tell you guys which one that is, and I'll put it in the follow-up. But it is a fun, it is a fun activity, though now with COVID, I just don't I don't see us passing around a cup of M&Ms anymore. But you know, maybe we'll get back to that.
We could think outside of the box and do it with something else. Yes.
Yeah, totally. So any other books you guys want to touch on before we kind of look at the rest of the theme for tonight?
And of course, you know, our ulterior motive is look at what you can do with just one book to continue and sustain your own PD, and use them as the ebooks through TyReads or the audiobooks.
And I will go through and double check again titles, because Overdrive continually adds, and so the stuff that we weren't able to get originally, I'm able to add, you know, later a lot of times. And I did request a bunch of titles, and so hopefully we'll be able to get them all in.
And I did update that. I think it was a Google Slide document I had made that had the links to them and whether they were in TyReads or not, but I haven't updated it since November. If you guys still have a copy or a link to that. Because, you know, feel free, use that with your teachers too, because everything's hot linked.
Yes.
If it's not hot linked to TyReads, it's hot linked to Amazon, sorry, but they had them all.
All right.
So basically, oh, go ahead, Julie.
That's okay, go ahead.
In sustaining your own PD, we had divided this into how do you respond to a book or to text. You do that with your students, many I know do. And so we talked first about in text format, last time it was video, and this time it's audio format. And that is, if you're going to finish the webinar series for credit, that's one thing we want you to do is choose some way to respond to your book that you selected. And so right here, I have some audio options. I think I've said before that most of my 8th graders did not like to video themselves. And so this synth has come up quite a bit. It is in our Chart a New Course book on page 65. And then I also, just playing around, I did a little introduction, not too much. I don't know if you want to play it real fast. But what I like about this is that it's not a busy screen. You can do synth on its web page. It has an app. You could turn on their video. They have that option, but it's just plain and simple. I know we all love Flipgrid. I mean, I love Flipgrid so much more than my students did. I mean, they like to look at other kids, but they didn't want to do it themselves.
Well, and Flipgrid just added, like around Christmas time, maybe, the option where you do not need to use your face anymore. You can just do audio. And so I thought that that's very exciting if you're looking at that.
But and if you're also looking at just something plain and simple, the synth was so easy to get going. And
And
I thought the sound was really good. I did it on my iPad.
how do
I
I
didn't use an extra mic or anything.
how do I play it? Oh, here we go. Okay,
The link,
here we go.
did you
Are you
click
ready?
on the link and this is what you got to?
Mhm.
That should be it.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to discuss the last 4 books out of our wonderful 13. Let's get started. Our focus titles for today are Game Changer, Grit, Hacking Questions, and Reading to Make a Difference.
And that's it. I
Oh my
stopped and
gosh.
started it.
You need a radio show, Joan.
Well, I think it does a good job of recording, and I stopped and started it because you know how sometimes when you stop and start, you hear all the clicks. I thought it was pretty smooth. I didn't do any editing though. I mean, I don't know if you can.
Did you do something similar with students? Because I'm curious, like on the time side of that, like I have 750 students. So is that something like you would then go back and listen to all of your students' recordings, or is it something you kind of just trust that they're on track?
Oh no, well, if I would have done that, I would have made it some part of a project that maybe I was collaborating with like the English teacher, or I might post this to my library website after I listen to them so other kids can listen.
Gotcha.
You know, sort of do the, book
Mhm.
report in a different kind of way.
Yep.
I just thought it was quick and easy. And then there are lots of options where you can post it, make it public, and you can do listen to other people's. So there are some social aspects of this, but you don't have to use them.
And it's free?
Free.
Joan, can you set up classes or does everybody have to have their own account?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't look into it that far because I thought like what I would do is just put them all on my account. But I know when you have 700, that might not work. But you wouldn't start out having all 700 do it, a small group or.
And Rochelle in the book, I
She
mean,
has
this
more
is
information in the book, yeah.
well in the book, and she also has done some other things on it because this is one of her like big things. I mean, she's because I follow her on Facebook and she talks about it a lot. So, and I haven't played with it yet, so this is awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you,
just
Joan,
a beginning, and I thought it just might be something that might not intimidate those kids, those bigger kids who don't want their, they want to do TikTok, but they don't want to do Flipgrid. So, and then I think it's interesting too. You do need to get used to hearing your own voice, and in a simple way. And then of course the Blabberize and Chatterpix.
have you guys done Blabberize?
I didn't do it because I figured almost everybody probably done one of those. I hadn't done a Voki for so long that I went to look at it again. I mean, I learned Voki before there was such a thing as an app on an iPad.
I know. I remember
It's
Colleen
that
doing
old.
Voki back in the day when we worked at the state library, when we did our blogs and all that stuff.
When you taught us 21 things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are just fun things. And again, so that it's audio.
Ooh,
It's
they have a
hilarious.
Blabberize EDU site. Oh, you guys, this is awesome.
Voki is
Oh
for
dear. Yes, welcome to blabberize.edu.
So Blabberize is very fun, you guys.
So anyway, choose whatever method you would like to respond to your book. And that's the project for the webinar class this time. She also, when she's talking about on page 71, she also talks about Powtoons and actually, using comics.
Mhm.
But I was looking at the audio part. So speaking of audio, there are so many podcasts out there. It was hard just to limit, But I threw a few in here to give you, and I know some of them I have used in classes for you in the past, but just to give you an idea, Travis Lape is from, and Lisa Norris are South Dakota teachers, and I'm not sure they're doing that this year, but you probably, last year they did Teach Out Loud. They interviewed other South Dakota educators. And then Amy Herman is the school librarian from Michigan. Jennifer Gonzalez, the Cult of Pedagogy. She has not only a wonderful blog and website, but her podcast. And then I think the cool cat teacher is Vicki Davis. Many of you probably heard about her. But Shannon Miller had started this last year, and this is part of the Future Ready Libraries, the Leading from the Library. And you can always go back. All of these are archived. You can go back and take a look at them.
Do you guys listen to podcasts at all?
I've just recently started and now I'm obsessed.
What do you listen to?
Oh, a little bit of everything. Some Dave Ramsey has kind of been like the most recent, but something called the Newsworthy. So it's like 10 minutes of news every day. That's more NPR. It's not like right or left. It's kind of straight shooting. Simple Families, The Minimalists. Nothing, I haven't followed any education ones yet because I didn't know which ones to follow, but now I'm adding these ones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and these are more, except for the first one, they're more library. Well, there's some of each, library and just education, but there's a podcast for everything, I think.
And 10-minute teacher I listened to a lot of hers. I really do like hers just because it's 10 minutes and they, generally pretty timely topics. Stephanie, you were nodding your head. What do you listen to?
I have been listening to, I started painting my living room. And so I was listening to, it was called Something Was Wrong. It's about narcissists and really bad things. But there's been some I like crime stories. So, fiction, things like that. But the Modern West is a good one that's out of Wyoming and Colorado, Modern West.
Oh, Modern West.
There's Modern West, and then there's a really good education one called Brainwaves, VRAIN, Brainwaves, that has some interesting topics for educators. So
my 20-year-old likes those true crime podcasts, and my teenagers, 20-ish year olds, listen to the shower playlist is a thing. I didn't know this. And so she switched to podcasts and listening to podcasts in the shower. And so they're very loud. And so you hear them in the house, wherever you're at. And I was like, it just kills me. So we went through the true crime thing for a while. I don't even know which one it was. I wasn't really listening. I put my headphones on. Any other cool podcasts that people listen to?
It doesn't have to be library or education.
Oh no, I think
There's
it's fun to just gather kind of, things to check out because there's so many.
First Name Basis is also a really good one.
What's it called, Jenny?
First Name Basis.
Plus there are ones that are created just for kids.
Well, that one is kind of, First Name Basis is I think she's biracial, but she just talks about how to talk about race, race and kind of all the BLM stuff, with children. For example, one of the things that she said in one of her podcasts that my husband and I now do, and it's funny to have the words come out of my kids' mouths, but they have more melanin in their skin. They're not black, they're not white. They just have more melanin. So when we have extra friends come stay with us, oh yeah, well, Amore has more melanin. Yep, yeah, and we have less melanin. So it's just but that that vocabulary piece.
That's so cool.
It's very funny to hear a 4-year-old talk about someone having more melanin.
Oh, that is the
I
best.
recently downloaded Dr. Death, which is not education by any means.
But I think podcast is a really good listening skill, not only for us as adults, but for our kids.
And there's actually there's resources out there to teach with podcasts. And not the creating podcast, but the actual, listening and using podcasts. And so
integrating them.
Yeah. And there's so many different content areas. Really, it is mind boggling. So
now, Julie, I'm
our
gonna
8th grade
move you
teacher.
on.
Oh,
Oops.
Our
sorry.
8th grade ELA teacher has been using podcasts in his
Oh,
class.
fun.
good.
Yeah.
That is, I just think it's so cool. So I'm sorry. We could spend all day on this. Sorry,
We
Joan.
can come back to this. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we have time to talk about AASL.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, so I kind of went over what your final project would be, and of course, then there'll be another Google Doc as a reflection. And this, we're only asking you to use webinar 1, 2, and 3. And then, of course, we want you all to come to webinar 4 because we're going to talk about preparing for our online TIE conference in April. But starting tomorrow, oh, and I forgot to put the link there, Julie, sorry, but it's live.
Yeah.
Your last class, Inquiry and OR Creation, starts tomorrow, and that goes until April 30th. And basically, you'll be doing a few things with our Charter New Course book, and then creating a lesson plan for OER Commons. Not necessarily, you could do it with a partner from your school, with a partner from the cohort, or by yourself, and all that is in there, of course. And that's why I had the realm of OER in my Voki. I was just fooling around. I must have gone and closed my mouth because my, avatar is doing that too. But then I'm hurrying along because the AASL conference for 2021 is right now scheduled to be in person in Salt Lake City, Utah, and proposals to present at this conference are due February 1st. So we'd like to put in a proposal and have you all come with us. Well, whoever can. We did an OE Global conference. These were all virtual. And then ISTE, and Julie created that cool poster, which we hope kind of outlines what this reaching out project has been, and that we would talk about that and give some of your perspective and your projects and things that you're proud of that you've been doing during this whole time as part of a session at AASL. Now, if you click on that link,
Hold on.
oops, sorry.
We just launched proposals for the TIE conference too. So
Oh yes, you could present at the TIE conference too.
yeah, and it's virtual this year and it's free. So you'll be able to.
It's free again, that's cool.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited.
But anyway, if you look at they do a great job of showing you the submission questions. And I would think, I've looked over the choices that we would want to do a concurrent session and, kind of do it as a group, a panel. I mean, what do you think?
You guys look like we're crazy.
That's okay too.
I would like to go.
Shelly, sign me up.
So it's supposed to be October 21st and 23rd. I still can't believe they're not going virtual because ALA Midwinter, which is just at the end of this month, is virtual. And they plan these so far ahead. But anyway, we would write it up and run it by you all.
And then
Anything
you
else you
can
want to add to that, Julie?
jump in.
Yeah, jump in.
And I'm going to see if we can, I mean, the timing is after the grant, but because we haven't traveled for the grant, I'm going to see if we can, get an extension to be able to provide some travel funds. And Joan just came up with that suggestion today, which is brilliant. And so I need to contact IMLS and see if that is even an option because I don't know, but it would be fun.
Because we could pre-register before the grant ends, was my thinking. You usually pre-register for these things so far ahead.
And Salt Lake is so drivable when you live where we live.
And I have a wonderful nephew who lives there. So
he would love it if, 39 odd librarians descended upon him.
He would. Anyway.
Cool.
I want to bring it up now, not only because the proposals do, but you need to ask if you can go.
So, and then our last webinar for this series is February 18th. So that is, and that's going to be our kind of our TIE conference, and just making sure we, you know, get together one last time and touch base on things. And TIE conference proposals aren't due till after until after that. So if we, you know, you want to talk about, you know, hey, I'm thinking about putting this in, and you know, that kind of thing too, we can definitely help you with that. TIE conference proposals are super easy, and we're very friendly in terms of accepting things. So.
And we will have our own meeting like we always do, because we have some things that we need to talk about and work on to wrap up the grant.
Yes. All right, Joan, I think we made it through, and we have 15 minutes to hang.
To go back and talk about AASL.
Yes.
I have gone to, I haven't gone every time. I've gone to several, and there's so much there. There's more than you could ever do, but I always come back energized and, you know, meet lots of new people. But we're energized to meet lots of new people when we're on virtually too.
So
We
are there
met people from all over the globe in that OE Global.
So Corrine asked, is there any other guidelines for the final webinar project? And so no,
Nope, it's pretty
because
loosey.
we gave in each of the webinar times, like this time we talked a little bit about how you could do audio options. So you could do, you know, you could make a podcast. Then we did 2 times ago, we did the video, or last time we did the video.
Do
And then
something on Flipgrid or, yeah, it doesn't have to be lengthy, but we want you to some way respond to the book that you chose. Maybe some, you know, you could talk about, you could use the guiding questions we have at the top here. You could talk about what you actually put into action in your school, or what you plan to do. It is pretty wide open. But
okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something, because I had like I have a million tabs like Julie, but then I've also now started having a million Chromes open.
And yes, I have a million Chromes to go with my million tabs. Yeah. And I've started using other browsers now too, because why not?
So, and I accidentally like X'd out of that and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, okay, am I missing? Like, did I lose a tab? So I just wanted to check if I was missing anything. And I'm like, I don't think I am, but yeah.
So, I mean, like if you wanted to do, you know, like say, make a sketch note on your book, you know, I mean, just, you know, just something you want to play with, because really this is an awesome opportunity to jump in and, you know, then you can also turn around and use it in your building to say, hey, you know, I can lead PD, or, you know, we can do a book study and here's what we can do with it type of thing. And it's not horrible. So, yeah. And then the other thing, so the grant will pay for your graduate credit for the webinar series this go around. So you'll be able to get all 5 credits this year if you want them. So if you're, you know, on the fence, it's an easy credit and you can get it. I mean, because we all read books.
Right, because you've already put in the time, or you will, to read your book, and we only need 15 hours. So fun project, and then a couple paragraphs for the reflection in a Google Doc.
Mm-hmm. So pretty easy, big in the big picture. And we
and of course send all that to me.
Yeah. And then we do also have, you know, the Facebook group, which has been it's been really fun to see when people watch the video. I mean, because it's just like another way to have that reflection. So any other questions or comments or things you want to chat about before we wrap it up for the night?
How about, should I write up a draft proposal for AASL, and I'll put it in our Facebook group, and then people could respond to me there or personally email me? Would that work, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I like that.
You know, people didn't leave the meeting when I brought it up, so I think that's good.
And do you guys think about putting in a proposal for tie too? Just because as librarians, we've done an awful lot within the pandemic to provide support and ideas. And so, being able to share that, what's been really cool, what was cool about last year's tie, and what's been cool about some of the other online conferences is you get to go to sessions that you wouldn't normally get to go to because they're recorded. And the other thing that's really nifty is, like, for tie last year, people had to attend way more sessions than they had to attend all the sessions, and so people were going to everything. And so, like, Alyssa Adams had the curation session at the tie conference, and everybody went to that curation session that wanted to get their 15 hours. And so it's like everybody learned about curation. And so that's the other nice thing about the online conference is it gives us a little bit more of an audience to not force our librarian ways on, but expose people to our librarian
Yeah,
ways.
when they have to make a choice and they can only go one way, where virtual, they can choose all of them. And what we're talking about at tie is not that you present on the cohort and the grant, present on whatever topic you would like.
So yeah,
a project that you've done or something specific, that helped you survive the going virtual. So any questions about that? Just want to talk about your life right now? It's okay. Unmute.
I'm having a baby in 4 weeks.
Yay!
I was going to ask you.
Yay.
4 to 5 weeks, we'll say that, because my son was late, so I'm guessing she'll be late too.
Oh, we know it's a girl.
It's a girl, yep, so we'll have one of each.
Nice. And
Yay.
have you picked out her name?
We're getting pretty close. Our son seems to have named her, but we couldn't get a middle name out of him. But now I think we've picked out something tonight. So cross our fingers that that is what she'll be when she comes out.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's Oakley. Is he feeling better, Janie?
No, he's not.
Oh,
But he looks good tonight. We
he
tried
looks
feeding him.
adorable.
Yeah, we tried feeding him medicine and he spit it all out. So any tricks, send him my way, please. His fever is at 100 right now.
Oh,
So, yeah.
if you squeeze their cheeks, they can't spit it out at you.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. That's what I do, and then like drown them.
So they just
Are we
they'll eventually
recording this?
swallow it.
parenting or torture techniques.
They totally take the medicine.
Well, it's like both times we tried today, he just spit it. I mean, he didn't get any medicine, so that's why I feel like that's why he's not breaking his fever. But
Are you giving it to him like in an eyedropper or?
a syringe.
Yeah, syringe.
But I just feel bad for him. It's like, yeah, he's just, you can tell he's not happy. Usually he's all smiles.
Yeah, he's pretty sedate tonight.
Right. He's hanging out.
Well,
But
Julie and I were
gonna-
commenting.
I was gonna ask, my internet cut out when you guys were talking about Laura Ingalls Wilder and a video or something. I didn't catch any of that. Like, what video was it, or what was the punchline there?
So at the end of January, they did a special on PBS on Laura Ingalls Wilder and the just her books, and it was like a documentary.
Okay.
And did you watch the recording, Joan?
Yeah, it's readily available. And the whole thing is they're looking at it, what was her real life like versus what was put into the books. And then the collaboration between Laura and her daughter, which really wasn't known, I think, until either the mid or late 1970s. It was a family secret. So that kind of stuff really intrigues me. But
Well, yeah,
also
'cause
looking
it
at
was
some of
like,
the things.
I heard secret and I'm like, what did I miss? This sounds
Yeah.
juicy.
And some of the things, you know, because of the time it was, that people are looking at it now, like, you know, there are some things that are, that wouldn't be appropriate. Kind of like the discussions around Huck Finn. And I think there are other books and other discussions going on with things like that too.
I did appreciate that they talked to Louise Erdrich and some of them that, you
Yeah.
know, to get other people's opinions.
Exactly.
That was one of the things that I really appreciated about it too, was it wasn't just, you know, a couple people that were, you know, like Laura Ingalls Wilder experts, but they brought in, so I dropped the link in the chat, and I'll add it to the agenda too, just so you guys can come back and look at it.
Have any of you read the book that was put out by the South Dakota Historical Society? I think it was, that took her original manuscript and then they looked up all of the stuff that was like how this fit and what they did the research for it. It was amazing.
That was fascinating. Yeah.
It was.
So, you know, people are doing more research.
Yes.
It's basically what's going on.
All right, well, we are almost out of time. And so I'm going to stop the recording and you guys can